1. Welcome to the Davidthedogtrainer Podcast, episode 142. And if things sound different, you're right.
You are correct.
We just got a little microphone upgrade. This is the first official. I mean, I just feel like I'm talking into it, and it just sounds more clear.
It does, yeah. I feel like we're on the Joe Rogan Experience right now.
These
honestly.
are the Joe Rogan Experience microphones.
Yeah.
It might take a little fine tuning with it. I mean, God, it just like feels like.
Yeah.
Just even listen to it.
The snap, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the snap in our voices. Okay. Sorry for all
But there's no
ears,
like
though.
spiking.
No.
You know? It's just got good control.
Yeah, it's like really, really good middle of the line, you know?
Yeah. So that's what we got right now. We got we got new microphones going right now.
Yeah.
Happy
Very excited.
Black Friday to me.
Happy Black Friday to you.
Now, the reason why we got the new microphones is because everybody's been freaking bugging us about getting actual microphones for the staff podcast.
Yeah.
Guess what? Guess where these guys are going? These guys are going to the staff podcast.
Yes, they're getting they're getting the hand-me-downs.
They will be microphone-ified.
Yeah, which is so good. They definitely need it.
Which is great. So we're gonna keep 3 here because we generally never have 4 guests.
No,
You know, I might order a backup just in case.
Just in case, yeah.
You know, but we will be taking this one, and that one down to the old facility so they could start having their own little podcast microphone setup.
Honestly, they could even hold it probably like this too if they wanted.
I'll get them little
stands?
like little tabletop ones, because
Okay.
they got to be able to be moving around.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but that's coming that way. And then I told you guys, come the new year, we're gonna have a new little look.
Yeah, he told me he was researching.
I was doing
earlier.
a little research. I don't know exactly what it's gonna look like yet,
Yeah,
but I got some ideas.
I'm excited
Got
to
some
see
ideas. We're also gonna move closer to the windows, get a little natural light on us.
it. Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I'm
That's what's
interested to
new.
see. Yeah,
Josh, how was your holiday?
it was good. It was good. We went to her family stuff. I was supposed to go down to mine this year, but if I'm going to be honest with you, the whole reason I didn't go to my family's in Indiana is because her grandma makes this cranberry sauce.
You like a homemade cranberry sauce?
Yeah, she makes it with like some Jello and some. She puts nuts and different kinds of fruits in it.
Yeah.
And it's the best thing I've ever had. So I literally changed my plans because I knew I wasn't going to get any of that.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really bad, everyone, but I'm still going down for Christmas. Okay, I just had to push it off because I was like, that's my treat, you know.
Cranberry sauce with nuts in it sounds interesting. I've never heard that.
I know it's so good.
Kate makes a good cranberry sauce, but this is actually really funny. So we sat down for Thanksgiving dinner, and we pride ourselves in cooking a nice meal for the fam.
Yeah, I saw you out there
smoking that
that
turkey
turkey.
at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
yeah. So we sat down and we ate the entire meal. That's gonna have to not happen. That is gonna have to go away. All right.
It never records it, so
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why we hear it.
Well, whatever. So we sat down. We finished the whole meal. It was incredible. And then we're sitting there, and we're like, fuck. She forgot to put out the cranberry sauce.
Oh,
Dude.
no.
She forgot to put it out. And it was like, she makes a good homemade cranberry sauce as
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
It was sitting in the pot in the fridge.
I guess you got lots of cranberry sauce the next few
We had a
days.
ton of leftovers. The next day, actually, she made cranberry sauce margaritas. the
What?
next day. She used the cranberry sauce to make a margarita. And it wasn't bad. She really liked it. She drank like 3 of them.
Dang.
But it was a little sweet for me.
Not for you, huh?
It was a little too sweet.
Yeah, I can feel that. That
Yeah.
could be. But other than that, I think I sent you a photo of
Yeah,
my.
tell me about the Black Friday purchase.
Oh yeah,
Purchases, if you will.
I got a 42-inch monitor now, dude. This it's literally the size of my table.
Yeah.
But it's a OLED. It's the closest thing I'm going to get to an Apple monitor for a fraction of the price because their monitors start at about $3,500.
Yeah, especially those big boys.
Yeah,
You know?
and I mean they're beautiful.
Are they that much nicer?
I mean, they might have a little. Not really. Not Not for $3,500. I don't think so, because now it's like I got that for it's usually $700 or $800, and I got it for like $5 something.
Yeah,
but it's beautiful. It's like exactly what I needed, because I had bought just a rinky dinky one, and it was terrible. It was the worst thing I've ever done, was buying that. So I needed a new monitor. And then
that's a big ass monitor.
Oh yeah, it's
what,
like
40 something. What is it?
42.
That's huge. This is like 20 something, I believe.
Yeah. It's when I have to go to like.
I mean, that's really fucking big.
Yeah, but it's great for like photo editing.
Oh yeah,
because like I get into it, But like if I have to like, go to file or whatever, I actually have to look up, or if I have to get something down here, I have to actually move my neck instead of just my eyeballs.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but it's definitely. It was a well worth a purchase. Like it's made my editing so much easier the last week. So
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, and the refresh rate on is great. So when I'm editing the podcast, we just look like, how crystal clear, and like the movements all like 4K. Like because it's a 4K monitor too, so I can actually see the 4K now. And I'm like, whoa,
I love that.
Yeah, so I've been having a great time with that.
Hell yeah. Very cool. I bought these microphones on Black Friday. We did all our like Christmas shopping before Black Friday because we already got good deals and everything. So as a nurse or working in the medical field or the healthcare field, you get access to so many freaking discounts. It's ridiculous.
Really?
Like we get like 20% off Yeti. We get like 25 to 30% off Sonos products. Like Under Armour, you get like freaking 40% off certain things on Under Armour and stuff. Like just like every freaking brand name you could think of.
Yeah, that's
There's
crazy.
like a discount code that they give to like nurses and stuff. So we bought all our Christmas shopping. We were able to just like hunt for like discount codes on that website that she uses for it, and just got everything like mega cheap. So.
Okay, so are you guys bad about keeping gifts away until Christmas? Yeah.
Well, okay. No, we talked about this a little bit. So generally, no. Like when it comes to like immediate family and stuff, no. It's I'm very pleased with the gift purchases we made for everybody, but I've got no problem with waiting. But for each other, I feel like we're pretty bad about it. Yeah. Like Kate bought like 2 things for me the other day, and she's sitting there and she's like, I need to tell you what they are. She's like, I have to tell you. Like, I have to tell you. I was like, no, don't. And she wound up telling me one of them because she just couldn't hold it in.
Yeah.
Couldn't hold it in.
Yeah, my problem is like I try to get like useful things, and like so like Devin needed some headphones. And so I bought her new headphones, and I was just like, they came in the mail. I was like,
here you go.
Yeah. I was like, am I really going to make you have to wait a month and a half to get like headphones? Like, here you go, Yeah. And then her and her grandma got me like some really nice like a pan set, I think she convinced her grandma to help her out getting it for me because she knew I'm the one that keeps her alive. That's
right.
I'm the one that cooks all the time.
The quicker he gets these, the more motivated he's going to be to keep cooking meals.
Yeah, exactly. So I got to cook with those, and that was nice. But it's like now I'm like, oh, man, what are we going to do for Christmas? Because we gave him like the good gifts already,
Yeah. It's hard out here,
It is, man.
Very cool. Well, a bunch of new things going on at the shop. So obviously podcast stuff, we're getting all situated. I'm really, really excited about what the next couple months is going to look like for the podcast. Because I mean, upping the audio quality on the staff podcast is going to be a goddamn game changer. Because it's just such a night and day difference right now between like the podcast, like this podcast and theirs. Like theirs just feels like it's like a cell phone podcast right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like that little Rode mic thing does a good job, but
it's all right, but it ain't.
It's not this.
It ain't this, right?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be freaking huge, man. Is getting that up to par, and then ours, like I said, just visually, we just need a little cleaning up. A little cleaning up. Desk is a little cluttered. I want to get a little bit, we didn't know when we designed this podcast studio, if we will, we didn't know where the hell it was going to go, right? No. So we had 4 fucking microphones. We never use 4 microphones.
Yeah.
Only every once in a blue moon, like when we have like a shadow student in town or something, do we even use the third one.
Yeah.
So the third one is just going to be not like on, it's just going to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then we'll bring it out when we need to bring it out,
For sure. Yeah.
The table, I think, is probably a little excessively big. I think we probably can get away with a little bit smaller of a table. The design, again, it's just, I needed to cover these like bare ass fucking ugly walls that were painted this way, like when we bought the house.
Yeah.
So I covered it with all these like shitty posters and stuff. Like everything's got to go.
Yeah.
You know? It's got to look refined and fine-tuned. And I want to play around with the camera angles. You know, I watch other people's podcasts sometimes. And I'm just like, damn, that camera angle makes them look really good. You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like ours is pretty good right now. I don't hate it, but it could be better.
Yeah.
It could be better.
We're working with what we got right now, you know?
Working with what we got. So we'll see, you know?
Because the big problem is we're like right up on the wall, you know? So it's like there's only like so many ways I can like cut it, you know? Yeah. Especially like otherwise it's like right behind me or that one's right behind you. And then it's like we can't move or anything. So
yeah. I think, I went back and forth between do we go with the lounge look or do we go with like the...
like the
setup,
like the impulsive kind of
yeah,
like
they're all just
thing.
like chilling and stuff. I feel like I don't know if I want to do that. I was gonna do it originally, but like I feel like that's like more if you have a bunch of people. Like they usually have like 3 or 4 people on their podcast. And you can kind of sit around and lounge and stuff. I think just 2 people, it's like a little awkward,
a little excessive,
you know. And also, generally speaking, I feel like we're rolling in here like half out of bed and like have like sweatpants on and stuff. Yeah. And we need the table to be able to
to hide that, so we don't have to to get dressed up at 9 a.m. every day.
But I did think about higher table, maybe like a cocktail table kind of style. You know,
yeah,
could be a cool vibe. I don't know. So
you'd have to make sure we get some comfy chairs though.
Yeah, we'll get some real comfy chairs.
Yeah, what are those Herman Meyer or whatever?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're called though.
Everyone says they're so comfortable. They're like $800 or something.
Yeah. So we'll see. So that's the podcast shop, guys. We're launching today. It'll have been out for a week by the time you see this, almost a week. The official new series on YouTube, and it's interesting, right? So this is cool. I talked a little bit about it last time about how we want to show more actual dog training, right? It's interesting, you know, like they always say like when you get critiques or feedback from people and stuff like that, you know, take it with a grain of salt, but like, you know, if there's some truth in there, like hold it true, right? And we really did get a little extreme on YouTube with all our content it's not dog training content. Like it's obviously dog training content, right? But like so much of it is the conversations. You know what I mean? Like so much of it is us talking about what we're doing, or we're highlighting the clips of talking to the client in between working with the dog or like any of that kind of stuff, as opposed to showing us actually working with the dogs. And like, listen, you know, it's funny, like we'll get comments from people sometimes, like especially with some of the reaction videos we've done of other people where people are like, oh, fuck you don't even train dogs, or like, you don't work with dogs like this. And we're like, well, we absolutely do. Like there's zero part of my brain that says like, oh my God, like, you know, like, yeah, like this person's working with dogs so much more extreme than me or whatever it may be, right? But we could definitely do a better job of showing it. And, you know, listen, that is the goal of this new series is we're taking board and trains that we're working with, right? And we are filming everything.
Yeah.
Like literally, these dogs got dropped off on Monday morning, right? And we have filmed every single minute of their training sessions since Monday morning when they got dropped off. And because of that, the content we've got is really freaking good.
Yeah.
Really freaking good. And it also helps that these 2 dogs came in a fucking disaster. A disaster. So let's pull up the video here, right?
Okay. You know, it's just really funny to me that people say that because that used to be...
They don't say it a lot.
Yeah.
But like in some of the videos, like I think when we like reacted to like Beckman's video and stuff like that, they're like, well, yeah, show us how you work with aggressive dogs. It's like, and again, getting back to the truth of it, I'm like, damn, like I do it every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I don't have a bunch of easily accessible videos that I could pull and just be like, here you go. Like I have them, but here's the problem, right? They're buried in the vlogs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the vlogs are so dense And it would be so difficult for me to now go through 169 episodes or however many fucking vlogs there are at this point. 159, I think is what it is. And then I have to go into each individual one of those 159 vlogs and look at the timestamps on them. And we only started doing timestamps in the last year on them, right?
Yeah.
And then go through and be like, oh yeah, there's the clip of Thor, or there's the clip of Benny, which is one of the aggressive dogs that we worked with, or there's the clip of this dog or this dog or this dog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just too hard to easily grab that. And I feel like, again, for the vlog, for a lot of people, they, you know, the nerds, you know, the dog training nerds want to get in there and watch it. And you know, it is good and it's entertaining and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the people that just want to see, let me just see you work with a fucking aggressive dog and see how you start introducing them to other dogs.
Yeah.
We need a video just for that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. So these two dogs just got here. This is a little clip of... Is this the right? Which one's the right one? Hold on. Yeah, okay. So this is a clip of just the before footage of these dogs. And we'll obviously put this in the video, guys. It's also going to be on our Instagram. You can go watch later. All right, you ready?
Oh, scared, man.
Okay,
There we go. There we go.
So they don't slip out of the collar.
Carry them one at a time?
Let's go ahead and... So just look at this, right? So we'll just start this off. So those first couple clips, he pulled them out of the car, right?
Yeah.
And literally the second he gets them out of the car, they turn around the corner of the car. They see me standing like 25 feet away. They start barking and then fucking book it back to the car, right? And then just start freaking out, total panic, tail absolutely tucked. I go over to try to help him manage these dogs because he's getting all tangled up with dogs and they're trying to jump back into the car and stuff.
Yeah.
I go to grab the one. I grab the dog's leash, and the dog literally, as I grab the leash, starts defecating all over the floor. Right? Like, just because I walked up and I didn't even like look at the dog or interact with the dog, I just grabbed the leash from him.
Yeah.
And the dog was in such an absolute panic, it literally shit itself right there. Right? The other dog is barking and reactive and stuff, thrashing at the end of the leash, trying to get away from me. Right? And we're sitting there and it's like, you know, me even approaching the situation makes it like 100 times worse in that moment.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to handle these dogs in the moment, right? Just a disaster. So we're sitting there and it's like, okay, well, what do we do? And I'm like, all right, well, let me step back for a minute, right? Get yourself situated, right? And he's like, they won't walk with me right now. He said, right now, they will not walk away from this car. They were trying to slip out of their collars and stuff. So he said, anytime he takes them somewhere new and they do this, he has to pick them up and carry them. Right?
Wow.
Like they will not walk. They just won't freaking do it. And here's the thing. Like I said, you know, the one, like literally I walked up and grabbed the leash and it started pooping all over the ground. Right? This is what kills me about it. I remember there was a Dog Daddy post that like Zach George was like using where Dog Daddy walked up and like grabbed the leash of the dog and the dog was like shitting on the floor. Right? And people were fucking going crazy. Like, look at your training. Look at what it's making these dogs do, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, my God.
And I remember that particular, listen, I'm not here to defend all of the videos, obviously, but that particular video that I saw of his, I was like, you guys obviously have never worked with a dog that even looking at them makes them so freaking terrified that they start shitting on the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And this is in the first 2 minutes of these dogs getting here. They were that out of control, right? So he picks them up. He carries them into the facility.
There he is. Thank you.
I know. You gotta cool the jets, buddy. So just, they're a disaster. You know? Like there's no other way to put it. Like, these dogs are just a hot ass mess right now.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Right? They literally arrived the day before they were flown in from Turks and Caicos. Right?
It's
this
them.
guy,
Okay.
these two dogs, right? They're litter mates. They're only like 11 months old. They're super young still, right? And they are just an absolute freaking disaster.
Yeah.
Right? So just by making sure we were able to film this entire like entry and stuff like that, like we could show you guys, all right, these are really bad dogs. Right?
Yeah.
Or bad, subjective, bad, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think these dogs are horrendous monsters of dogs by any means,
Yeah.
but they are in really, really bad shape right now.
Mm-hmm.
These dogs are in horrible shape, right? And we've got it all, right? You could see it, right? So now what we're doing is every day that we're filming these dogs, we're creating a mini lesson out of them, right? So like day one, that drop off, right? We made a YouTube video, and the YouTube video is actually currently live on YouTube. You can go watch it right now. It just went up. We're keeping them short and to the point, right? 20 minutes. This is how we took these dogs from being super reactive to me, terrified of everything, trying to get away from everything, not walking on a leash, thrashing an alligator rolling every time they feel the leash pressure, to being able to just walk on a leash and overcome these fears, right? That YouTube video literally will show you exactly how we did it.
Yeah.
It'll show you start to finish. These dogs will not walk and are very reactive to these dogs are now walking with us.
Yeah.
Right? And
Hell
you could take that information. If you have a fearful dog, you could implement that immediately to any dog like that and get them past that hurdle.
Yeah.
Day two, then, we went over, okay, we need to see now how bad, because he said, all right, well, once they get comfortable in the environment, they generally will kind of warm up and stuff like that. I was like, all right, well, let's see. We got to make sure that if they're in an environment they're not comfortable in, that they're still going to be reliable with it. So what we did is we expanded outside of the facility. We went and we did exterior stuff. We did walking with them. We talked about how we were creating less strict rules in order to keep them successful. So like with dogs like this, when they come in this bad, if you try to go right from this dog is an absolute disaster to like, you have to heel on the walk with me or something like that, you're fighting an uphill battle. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be virtually impossible for the dog to be successful with, and you're going to cause them to just go 0 to 60 and ramp up and get even more anxious and even worse with stuff, and it's going to be a mess, right? So we had to loosen our expectations of these dogs like tenfold, right? And create the easiest criteria we could hold them to in order to allow them to be successful and start building confidence. We talked about how we implemented that. We showed, obviously, how we did that. We then took them straight to Home Depot, a place that never in a million years the sky would have thought that these dogs could have went to, right? And we walked them through Home Depot day 2 successfully.
Wow.
Like no issues, right?
Yeah.
Like they did so well, and it's because we broke the ice with all of these other things, right? So that's going to be a YouTube video that will probably go live tomorrow, right? Then yesterday with them, we did all confidence building drills. Everybody always asks, how do I build confidence with a fearful dog? And we always explain to them, the training helps to build confidence by helping them overcome certain hurdles and then them become confident in the hurdles that they overcame. We freaking showed it, right? We did a training session exposing these dogs to all sorts of different textures and surfaces and agility equipment and all that kind of stuff. And you could literally see, I'm just going to show this clip that we took the other day. You could literally see that the confidence shoot out of these dogs from where they started in the session to where they ended in the session. Like, look at this clip. Look at him wagging his tail, happy to be with me, hanging out, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
We showed how we got these dogs from not just past the issue and still scared, but from being scared to being confident with these things. And that's something you're going to be able to watch as its own YouTube video as well,
That's
right?
what, 3?
That was day 3.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah,
I never
sorry.
did. I saw you do that. I'm like, what is that? We throwing gang signs?
Yeah,
Like, is that
3
what's going
days,
on
bro.
here? Yeah. So that was day 3.
Yeah.
Right? Day 4 is today. Right after this podcast, we're going to go in. We're going to start fucking crushing it with these dogs. So far, we haven't introduced any training equipment either with these dogs. Right? We haven't done any prong collar. We haven't done any e-collar. We haven't done anything like that. We've simply just implemented, it sounds corny, but like leadership principles.
Yeah.
Right? Just, hey, I am in charge of things right now, and I'm going to guide you through all of this stuff. Right? You need to follow my direction, and that doesn't mean sit down, stay, this, that. It just means I'm not going to put you in harm's way, but you need to trust me through working through these hurdles. And that is such a freaking massive point to get across to dogs, especially ones like this, because the second you could get them to trust you of all these hurdles I'm helping you overcome, and I'm not forcing you necessarily, but I'm definitely not allowing you to do anything else but face your fears with these types of things. The more that happens and they give into your direction and they realize the thing you made them do is actually not scary, you build leadership capital, leadership capital, leadership capital, leadership capital.
Yeah.
And then each time you face a new hurdle, then after that, it becomes easier and easier and easier. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm real fucking jazzed up on this
Yeah.
on this kind of thing we're doing right now. You know, I think it gives us an opportunity to like, all right, last couple years, we've shown plenty of training, right? We've shown plenty of before and after videos and stuff like that. But now you're going to go in, you're going to be able to see really what we can do through these videos.
Yeah. No, I think it's really, it's going to be really beneficial too, to like say fuck the haters, because it's like these first 3 days, I didn't put a tool on them. You know, it was literally like you said, I was just throwing them into this, hey, I have this leadership role over you. You need to like listen to me, you know? And I think that is a huge thing that people need to see, especially maybe the positive, you know, comments that we get. It's like, hey, look, like we're working on an actual balanced approach. Like I'm working to get these dogs with me before I start really teaching anything with any kind of tool or anything.
Yeah, and these dogs too, like they came in zero freaking food drive. I think one of them took like a treat from Michelle yesterday for the very first time, you know? But so far it's like, you know, there's no positive reinforcement you could leverage with dogs like this, right? And, you know, they're in a shelter. It's not like they were getting a lot of attention to their nutrition and stuff like that. Past like, hey, we got to keep these dogs alive. We got to feed them, right? Which is totally understandable. But, you know, we're getting them on appropriate feeding schedules. We're making sure that we're developing food drive with these dogs so we can further build the confidence and keep them moving in the right direction. And I want people to really see the transformation of how dogs like this can go from that fucking scared. That is it was actually interesting. It couldn't have worked out better. Like, cause I was just like, all right, well, whatever, you know, we'll get some dogs in, we'll work with them. We'll film what we can and show how to train a dog. But when I saw these dogs get out of the car and I saw just how bad they were, dude,
You knew
it's good. Cause like, you know, I want to showcase all different types of dogs, obviously, right? I want to showcase the really fearful ones like this, which these dogs, listen, I'm not going to say they're not aggressive. You know what I mean?
No.
They're just terrified.
Yeah.
They're terrified and they're acting on their fear. And that could mean that they get snappy or bitey and stuff like that. But like, they're not out to try to hurt people, right?
Yeah.
I want to show how these dogs can turn into truly confident, independent dogs, right? But then we're going to be looking for, you know, hey, we need a really human aggressive dog we could work with stuff like this. So you guys can see some of that, right? Or a really dog aggressive dog or whatever it may be. So we could showcase it all, you know, and I want people to see, hey, this is how this works, you know?
Yeah. And honestly, these dogs too, because I feel like this might be the more prominent problem that people have, or just dogs in fear of just new things in general. And you know, you know, you've seen a lot of people just get locked in, like kind of tiptoeing around their dogs. And it's like, hey, look, if you even just take a couple days to just say no, you're going to have to work through it, and how much of a difference it could change, you know?
Well, it's just, I really, like, I want people to go watch that video. Maybe we'll do one of these days. Maybe we'll do a podcast reaction to like one of our training videos.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That might be interesting because then we can really get into some of the behind the scenes of this kind of stuff. Because like this first one, I really want you guys to go and watch it. Like it's very, very interesting. And again, it's freaking 2 hours from when they got dropped off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like they got dropped off to here they are 2 hours later, right? So I say that not to be like, oh my God, it's the most amazing thing in the world, but like it's not perfect by the end of it, right? But you see in real time how we worked through those hurdles of these dogs will not fucking walk. Like how many people out there have you heard of that have dogs that will not go up and down the stairs, right? Or will not go into their kennel, right? Or will not jump into the car. That's a big one, right? Or any of these other types. And all of the freaking information out there tells you you have to build a relationship with the dog, right? You need to get the dog to like you, and then you need to use positive reinforcement to help the dog create a better association with doing these things.
Yeah.
It's not going to work, guys. It might work with your easy, extremely food-motivated dog that isn't actually that scared. it will never work with dogs like this.
Yeah.
Because the problem is, if you're solely relying on coaxing them slowly into creating a positive association and wanting to do these things, but there being no accountability behind them ultimately doing it, what's going to happen is you might be able to make some headway and get them to jump in once or twice. But what happens when they then are starting to build this positive association, right? And then they jump in and slip a little bit or something, and then suddenly you're derailed 10x behind where you started at, because now they absolutely don't trust you and are not even going to try to follow you and follow those rewards or follow those treats to get them into where it is that they need to get into, you know, because they're like, well, last time I did it, something scary happened and it reassured all the fears that I actually have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So you have no way to work them past it even more from there. And this is what kills me about the relationship conversation sometimes. Right. So, you know, our last podcast episode that we did with Richard, right? We talked a lot about relationship, which great podcast, right? We dug into some really interesting topics, I think. And I think that all of the things that he preaches, and a lot of people from like that kind of a segment of dog training, which is like, hey, focus on the health of the dog. Focus on making sure you're fulfilling the dog's needs, making sure you're exercising the dog adequately, making sure you're providing a good life for the dog. Like obviously all of those things are important. And all of those things go into and are a piece of establishing a relationship with the dog, right?
Yep.
The problem is none of them, that by itself, I should say, never, ever, ever addresses the issue of when we're dealing with dogs that are just in bad situations, whether it's less than ideal living circumstances. Maybe it's a high drive dog that lives with a very hardworking, you know, away at the office kind of family, right? Or whether it's these dogs are absolutely terrified that are coming from this shelter situation, right? And are moving across the country and like their life is totally getting disrupted and stuff, which is going to cause them to cycle back into this fearful state of mind. Unless you have leadership and unless you have rules and boundaries that are clearly enforced, everything will constantly get derailed, and the relationship you have sans those rules and boundaries constantly being reinforced will do you absolutely no good.
Yeah.
And I mean truly absolutely no good, right? And that was something we had kind of disputed somewhere maybe halfway through to like 3/4 through the podcast that we did last time, was he started getting into the relationship and this is why it gets past these things, and you do it without suppressing stuff and blah, 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 right? But I think I even kind of like said a couple times in the podcast, every time he said that, I was able to point out how without rules and boundaries and those being clearly enforced, and then we also confirmed that rules and boundaries being clearly enforced involves a degree of suppression, that it wouldn't work still.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, it was interesting. So, but that's what kind of kills me about the relationship discussion sometimes, you know. And getting back to the comment I told you that we were going to read, right? You know, we did a vlog number 160. Damn, we are 160, 161 or something, I think is what we're up to.
Yeah.
We said, you know, absolutely, the bond is absolutely everything. It's the one thing that makes your dog truly want to please you. It's really hard to teach anything or to affect behavior in a meaningful way when the dog couldn't care less about you or what you want. Right? That was from Jenna, I believe. She was watching the vlog, right?
Okay.
And I replied back, right? Because that's kind of the same conversation as this relationship. Like everybody preaches, like once you have a relationship with your dog, the dog should just want to please you. Like that's bullshit, guys. That is bullshit. So I replied back, I said, yes, but we have some interesting views on bond and how it's established and what it is. I don't think dogs ever just want to please people for no reason. So I'll make that a good talking point on one of our next podcasts, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing, right? Like, what is bond? What is relationship? Let's find it. Actually, I like to resort to the Webster definitions of these things. Bond definition. A relationship between people or groups based on shared feelings, interests, or experience. Yeah, and then the rest is like a chemical bond, a connection between two surfaces or objects, right? Okay, let's look at the first one, right? A relationship between people or groups based on shared feelings, interests, or experiences, right? So obviously it is a relationship between you and a dog, right? Absolutely. The bond is let's get back to like what this person originally said. Like the bond is obviously important. Again, the key is just the definition of what is the bond, right? So the relationship that's based on shared feelings, interests, or experiences, right? So we'll kind of work backwards with this, right? Experiences, shared experiences, right? Obviously, you're going to develop a bond by experiencing new things with your dog, right? Shared feelings, right? Obviously, both parties need to feel the same about that experience, right? So let's say you're working with a dog, right? Or you own a dog and you haven't done dog training, and your dog might love going to the park, right? But you absolutely fucking hate going to the park because when you go to the park, your arm gets ripped out of the socket, right? And the dog is constantly trying to chase everything that it sees, right?
Yeah.
And you have no control over the dog, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is not going to be a good bond that you have with your dog, right? Shared interests, I think, goes kind of the same way, right? You both might be interested in going to the park together once you establish enough control over your dog to be able to know that I could take you here and you could sniff around and you could enjoy it, but I could still keep you under control, right? So it's mutual, right? So to what people like, I think Richard kind of get to is, let's say when we're working with a dog that's really out of control and it's one way, right? The dog really likes going to the park, but I fucking hate going to the park, right? And we have to get that behavior under control, right? So let's say I teach the dog very strict rules and boundaries at the park. I create consequences for those unwanted behaviors. And then we start going to the park and maybe it flip-flops. Maybe now I like going to the park because it's easy peasy, right? I'm not getting my arm ripped out of the socket constantly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But now the dog is like, going to the park kind of sucks, right? Because every time I go to the park, I'm getting in trouble for this or getting in trouble for that or whatever it may be. That also would not equate to a good relationship, right? But here's the problem. Sometimes it needs to flip-flop a little bit before it gets right in the middle. Because in a lot of cases, what'll happen is initially we have to make sure that the human's needs are met, right? Because you can't help others unless you can help yourself, right? So humans' needs are met. It's now not an absolute chore to be able to take the dog to the place that they like to be able to go to. But for the first handful of times after you do that, the dog's like, ugh, bummer, rules, right? But as you continue doing it, because now the human likes doing it, the dog realizes as long as I stay within these rules, that I could still do all the things that I wanted to do. And that's where the magic happens. And that's where the bond is built. Right. So I always look at building a relationship or building a bond with a dog as a two-part process, right? We have to make sure, first and foremost, it's not all about the dog. The dog can't just have whatever it wants all the time, whenever it wants it, because that's miserable for the human, right? So if we can get the human to want to go and do these things with their dog, like take them to the park or let them run off leash or whatever it may be, then in time, because we're doing that thing more and we're enjoying it and we're less stressed out and motivated to actually go and do it, the dog realizes that the rules and boundaries are consistent. They just have to stay within those rules and boundaries, no different than a kid playing soccer or a kid learning to play football or whatever it may be. And then the dog can then start to enjoy it again within those rules and boundaries. So that's where I get to what is the key to a healthy bond? Rules and boundaries that are understood and clearly enforced. That's it. That's my spiel on bonds.
I like it. I don't know. This like weird equal like relationship bond thing is just not. I mean,
no. It needs to be equal.
Well, yeah,
right?
but
both parties need to enjoy the things that they're doing.
Right? For sure.
But there are going to be times that we need to get the dog to do things they don't like, obviously, and that's a part of. Listen, having a healthy relationship is making sure that both parties are equally learning to enjoy their things, right? Yeah. There's going to be times where maybe you don't want to take your dog for a walk, right? But you still got to go do it, right?
Yeah. I think, as sometimes it almost feels like they're trying to say like the dog is like almost looking at the bond as like a human,
Yeah, that just gets back to like the human-centric, dog-centric conversation, which is just like, like I think he was saying at one point in the podcast that, he doesn't feel good unless he gets his dog an hour walk a day.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. You know what I mean? Like all for it. But real life says that most people aren't going to walk their dog for an hour every single day.
Yeah.
And if we say that the dog's needs, like if you get a working dog, like I have Vinny, right? Vinny probably could benefit from an hour-long walk every day. You know what I mean? Like he's a wild boy, right? But there are absolutely going to be times I know that I can't walk him an hour a day. And if we're contingent on the dog's behavior being under control, only if we're providing those things the dog quote unquote needs every single day, you're still going to live a miserable life with your dog because you're trapped within the confines of that. Now, I'm not saying it's a delicate subject because I'm not saying that you could just neglect your dog's needs. You know what I mean? That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is like life gets in the way sometimes, and that's where you have to get into the conversation of like, if somebody's needs aren't going to be met in this day, like whose are they going to be? Yeah. Right. And that's where you get into the hierarchy of like dog human. Right. And like, listen, you're living in my house. I'm providing a good life for you. 99.9% of the time I'm providing everything you need. But this week is fucking crunch time at work. And I'm just not going to be able to do as much with you as I would like to. Right. Yeah. But listen, it'll be fine because after these 5 days, we'll go to the park and we'll have a really great weekend together then after that. Yeah. Right. We'll kind of make up for it. Right. But that's going to happen sometimes,
Yeah. I definitely have that. Personally, I'll have that guilt trip sometimes, Yeah. It's like if I'll have 3 or 4 shoots in a row, and then by the time I get back, it's like 6 o'clock's already dark outside and everything. So it's like we don't really get on a good hike or anything if he doesn't get it for a couple of weeks. I'm like, oh, fuck. But, but then when we go on it, like he loves it, and It's like I still see that he's getting the enjoyment and fulfillment out of life. So
yeah, Kate and I will find sometimes like it's funny. We'll look at each other every now and then. We'll be like, Vinny seems a little cooped up right now. He's just like kind of wired and like moving real fast and pacing around the house and stuff like that. We're like, he's a little wired right now. Like we got to make sure we get him a lot of exercise over the next couple of days. Yeah, and you kind of just you do what you can, but you got to be a little easier on yourself over some of this stuff too. You can't hold yourself to these rigid fucking expectations sometimes. Oh yeah. And then when we notice that, like I said, that weekend or something, we'll freaking take him out all day somewhere. We'll go shopping with us. We'll go to the park. We'll chase the ball. You know what I mean? Like we'll do all sorts of things and make sure we tire him out and fulfill him. But
yeah. Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think there's ever going to be truly a understanding amongst all parties when it comes to these types of conversations. Because I think when we had the Dog Trainers Podcast guys on, like we were talking about how like, or maybe it was on one of their episodes or something. They were talking about, unfortunately, when there's a true, moral or whatever kind of core belief issue. I think is the word they use, a core belief issue, you know, where it's like you believe things are one way, I believe things are the other way, but those things we believe are like our core beliefs. Yeah. Right? No matter how much you dispute it, you'll never come to grips with it. Right? Yeah. It's like, not to get super wildly like political and stuff, but it's like the abortion debate, right? Like there's never going to be a compromise or understanding from one party to the other because it truly is a moral and core belief issue, right? And when it's that deep-seated in you, you could never really see the other side.
That's true. Yeah.
And I think when you look at the conversation of like, the people that are like, dogs are equals to us, right? I'm sure that is a core belief, no different than when people were saying women are equal to men. You know what I mean? Like I'm like that. Like there's absolutely no changing their mind to the people that feel that way, which is fine, But I think that's really where the disputes kind of come into play, is those core belief issues.
Yeah.
You know?
I 100% agree. You know, yeah. There's no way you're going to change, like, someone that's really dedicated to that side of the conversation, you know?
Yeah.
Especially, like, in this dog training stuff, like the super positive only people. Like, no matter what you say, even if you tell them that they're using a Halti and it's kind of the same thing, they'll be like, no, it's not.
It's just different.
Yeah, it's just different.
So it was interesting. What was the other thing? I forgot what the thing he was talking about. The something scale. Was the something pyramid he was talking about? What the hell was that called? Because I did want to talk about that a little bit today also.
Oh, God damn it.
Motherfucker, what was it called?
It wasn't behavior.
No, it was like somebody's name or something.
Yeah.
But the idea that, you know, it broke down the,
like a stress scale or something. Cause
it was something. It was a stress scale.
Yeah.
But there was a name for it. Stress scale. Let's see if I can find this. This is gonna drive me freaking crazy. There was a person's name.
Yeah.
Stress scale. Let's see if I can find it based on understanding stress in your dog. The layered stress model.
Layered stress model. There it is.
Yeah, boy.
We got it.
Yeah, all right. So we got the layered stress model here. I wonder who created this. I don't know if this was like a J-Jack created thing, but... Your dog's welfare with the layer. No, it sounds like this is just a common. Oh, here we go. So this is actually on Tyler Muto's old website. I don't know if this is currently his or not. No, I think this is because he sold the company. All right. So let's just read this here real quick. So this is very interesting. This is something he brought up that I was like, you know what? That is a very, very good articulation of understanding behavior that I do think can be talked about a little bit more. All right, so this blog post by Canine Connection, I'm assuming Tyler wrote this. I could be wrong, though. It says, an interesting perspective on canine aggression. It says, the staff here at Canine Connection, including myself, recently completed a workshop in canine socialization, which had its main focus on understanding the causes and dimensions of intercanine aggression. The workshop leader, Chad Mackin, founder of Pack to Basics program, and board member of the International Association of Canine Professionals, outlined a model of aggression that he termed the layered stress model of aggression. Okay, so Chad Mackin must have created this. Although it may be argued that standing alone, this model does not represent a complete understanding of the causes of aggression, I believe that it does supply a very practical vantage point that every dog owner can benefit from. And I really, really like that sentence there, because just like we were talking about, right? All of these... call it relationship or meeting their needs or whatever it may be, are very, very important pieces, like all the things we talked about on the podcast last week.
Yeah.
But they are not independently the solution, basically. Right?
Yeah.
But everybody can benefit from them. So the layered stress model essentially says, 1, every dog has a predetermined stress level or stress threshold beyond which they can potentially become dangerous. 2, the stress threshold itself is generally unchangeable. 3, various factors in a dog's life can add layers of stress, each of which bring the dog closer to their threshold point. 4, layers of stress can be diminished or eliminated by A, removing the stressor, or B, changing the dog's response to that stressor through counter conditioning. 5, the more layers of stress we remove, the less likely any one specific event is to push the dog beyond the threshold point and result in aggressive behavior. So, before we even continue on this, I 1,000% agree with all of this, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously your stress threshold is generally unchangeable, right? Every dog has a predetermined stress threshold beyond which can become potentially dangerous. We talk about every dog under the right circumstances can have an aggressive outburst, right?
Yeah.
Even your most friendly dog in the world, if suddenly is bombarded by all these things that stress them out in an environment that's already stressful to them, with another trigger outside of that causes stress, like that could, even if they've never acted aggressively before in their life, cause an outburst. This is also the same reason why some dogs will be very, very social within their home, but the second they go outside of the house, they're unbelievably stressed. That could be because the world is overwhelming to them. That could be because the leash attached to them creates a degree of stress and frustration, right? Whatever, right? That's the reason why you see differences in these types of things, right? So this model is layers of stress can be diminished or eliminated by removing the stressor or changing the dog's response to that stressor through counter conditioning. So, removing the stressor. We talk a lot about socializing dogs with other dogs. Hey, a toy can be a stressor, what we call a resource, right? But it can be a point of contention. So just eliminate it, right? Have the dog have a healthy social without all these other variables you need to worry about at once. And then later on, we could address why that resource causes stress or resource guarding around other dogs, right? Changing the dog's response to the stressor through counter conditioning. I would argue that not just counter conditioning from the classical term of like, let's create a positive association with this thing, but helping the dog overcome hurdles. So these dogs, the reason why their confidence is skyrocketing is because we're changing their perception to the things that scare them, whether it's new surfaces, whether it's walking when they're scared around another person, right? All those types of things reduce stress.
Yeah.
Right? And then the more layers of stress removed, the less likely any one specific event is to push the dog beyond threshold point and result in aggressive behavior. Basically, the more we could have the dog view the world in a healthy way and kind of manage their environment and stuff, the less chances of something bad happening. That's why us as dog trainers are so good at owning challenging dogs, is because we understand what that dog needs from us in order to be us or the environment in order to be successful.
Yeah.
Right. So moving on. This model is very practical if we begin to look at the behavior of an individual dog. Let's take an example of Snarly the Terrier. Snarly has a history of being very reactive when company come over to the house. He is fine as long as people are sitting down and behaving relatively calmly. However, if someone gets up to use the bathroom or makes a sudden movement, Snarly will get up and lunge at the guest, potentially biting. The action of someone getting up or making a sudden movement is for Snarly a specific stressor that pushes him beyond his threshold, thus putting him in the danger zone. While it is appropriate to work with this specific context by desensitizing Snarly to people's movements and counter-conditioning him to respond differently, it can be of great importance to also look at other areas of Snarly's life and work to remove or reduce any layers of stress possible. To be more clear, let's give numerical values to stress. Let's say Snarly's threshold is 150 units on the stress scale. What this means is that if his stress level goes beyond 150, he is likely to snap. Dude, these words are so small. I feel like, good thing I got good vision. Now let's look at various things in Snarly's life. Snarly lives with very inconsistent humans who don't always give clear commands that he understands, but rather tend to speak to him in full sentences that he has to decipher. The confusion adds a relatively constant stress level of 20 to Snarly's daily life. Snarly also does not get regular physical exercise and often has pent-up energy, which leaves him feeling a little edgy. This pent-up energy adds another 20 to Snarly's stress level. Snarly also is getting older now and is developing some arthritis in his joints. This discomfort adds another 30 to his stress level. This is a really, really well broken down way of talking about this. Because we talked a little bit in the podcast episode last time, the confusion of talking to him in full sentences and stuff. If you have expectations of your dog, regardless if you're correcting them or rewarding them or whatever, and those expectations are not understood, and that causes tension between you and your dog, that will keep your dog constantly a little stressed out around you, which can absolutely contrip to problems.
For sure.
Absolutely. So before guests have even arrived, Snarly is living with a stress level of 80. This medium level of stress may not be visibly apparent to his owners, but it is there regardless. Now arrive the guests, and having strangers in the house adds 40 more stress points. And finally, quick moments by those guests add 50 more stress points. We suddenly find poor Snarly's stress level at 170, well beyond his threshold, and he snaps. If you are like me, you could relate to Snarly's situation. When I have a bad day, it typically is compiled of lots of small, stressful events that continue to build. Eventually, one small thing, something that normally is very tolerable, puts me over the edge and I snap. So if we really truly want to help Snarly, we need to look at the whole picture. Let's add constant, consistent obedience training and clear human leadership to Snarly's life. This brings stress of living with humans down to 5. Let's also add consistent, structured exercise to Snarly's daily routine in the form of controlled walks and playtime with his humans in the backyard, not by himself. This eliminates the stress caused by the edgy feeling of pent-up energy. We also take Snarly to a veterinarian and add supplements to his diet to help with his arthritis, thus reducing the discomfort, bringing the stress from the condition down to a 10. Now we have reduced Snarly's daily stress level down to 15. See where I'm going here? Company then arrives, adding 40. Someone makes a sudden movement, adding 50. We are still only at an overall stress level of 105. Suddenly, Snarly isn't biting people anymore. Of course, dogs are creatures of habit, so unless we start making this change very early in Snarly's biting career, it is likely that he has developed a conditioned response to people moving around. However, since we have removed enough stress, counter-conditioning this behavior and teaching Snarly to lay calmly in his bed is now a breeze, since he is well below his threshold of stress and thus perfectly capable of coping with those actions. That last point is really freaking key also, because the problem is early on, these might be responses that the dog is learning, right? And acting based on kind of their instinct with things. Yeah. But at a certain point, aggressive behaviors, reactive behaviors, things like that with dogs like this become just conditioned responses or just automatic behaviors that the dog does, right? It's a habit. Yep. It's been built into the dog that the dog is no longer acting out of being over threshold, but they're acting out of just, this is the routine. Somebody gets up and I do this. Somebody gets up, I do this, right? Yeah. So this is where you get back into one piece of the puzzle. Yeah. But all of that to say, I really, really, really do like this way of looking at this. And like I said, this is a great post. Shout out Tyler if he wrote this. This is a really great post to help outline how we can look at the entire picture of what we're providing for the dog and help reduce stress a little bit to at least give us a better fighting chance. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yep. Hell yeah. That was cool. I'm glad we found that very rapidly.
Yeah, me too.
What do you think?
I mean, it's a very, that whole pyramid and the whole like concept behind it makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. But like you said, that last piece is like, if they have already made that a pattern, like, I guess it's kind of like a stress, not reducer, but like to keep it away. That's a good word for that. Like preventer. Yeah. For that the dog just kind of has. He's like, I know this is going to make me go crazy, but now I know if I do this, then you won't do these sudden movements or whatever. Sure. So it's kind of like I guess a self-defense mechanism, really. I mean, that is what it is, but it really, really creates it into that kind of pattern in their heads, I think.
The missing link, right, is like all of those things are so important. And if you're constantly looking at your life like that, over time, your relationship or your bond with your dog will get better because the dog will be less stressed, you will be less stressed, which will allow you to have better mutual experiences and feelings, right? Yeah. Which is obviously the goal, right? Mm-hmm. But those organic changes that are going to happen with that take time.
Oh, yeah.
And my issue, and the thing I've stood by forever as we've been training dogs, right, is that some people don't have the time to wait to allow the relationship to get better. Yeah. Right? And it's not going to change the fact that it takes time. But by being a little bit more human-centric, holding the dog a little bit more accountable, caring about their feelings, but saying, listen, my feelings matter as well. And some of these things that cause me immense amounts of stress, we need to get under control right now so I can provide all of these things for you. Mm-hmm. That is extremely necessary as well, especially when we're dealing with dogs and humans that are already living with such an unbelievably toxic relationship. Yeah. So that's the thing I preach with all this kind of stuff. I totally get what everybody's saying that likes to like really lean into this stuff and say, just do this, right? And it will help provide what you need for your dog. I'm not discounting that at all, right? But sometimes we need to just get the human a little bit of relief much faster.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then you can start implementing those things. But it's like, you need the control first. Mm-hmm.
So. Cool. So, yeah, a lot of things going on. Interesting little follow-up conversation here. Very excited. Guys, stay tuned on YouTube. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Watch these fucking videos. Share them around.
I'm excited.
Leave a comment letting us know what you think.
Please leave a comment.
Like and subscribe. Smash that like button.
Yeah, smash that like button.
You got anything else?
No, man, I'm good.
I'd love to see it. Let us know how the mics sound.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about it. I want to make sure my money was well spent.
Yeah, let us know those levels are good. Wait, what was that? I saw a comment the other day. It was on the one before with Richard. He's like, minutes of, what do you say?
Oh, God, I don't even
like,
know. They were talking about it's like 2 hours. Somebody was mad that the podcast episode was 2 hours long, I think.
Yeah, but he was like minutes of banter or something.
Minutes of banter. I think what they were saying is it was the one before Richard.
Yeah, that one.
I think what they were saying is I said at the beginning of that podcast, I was talking about shaving off like the 10 minutes of like bullshit like kind of ahead of time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if we really wanted this podcast to blow up, I feel like what we would do is we would have our topic. We would just talk about that topic very clearly for like 20 minutes and then just that's it, you know? Because again, what these fucking algorithms and stuff like is a total view of the fucking video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the longer it is and the more filler there is, the more likely you are to have people skipping through it or not finish it. Or things like
that's
that,
true.
Which YouTube fucking hates that shit, man.
Oh, yeah.
So watch our videos all the way through whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Enjoy the banter, all right?
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you.